Meir Rabbi say, as we spent time individually, collectively, learning a little bit of Birchas Hananin, Chashivas of brachas, the dinim of which bracha and what bracha to make. Before we have a shir tonight, I want a little bit of understanding of the Chashivas. Every bracha the Gemara tells us in Ketzad Mavorchim, Kol bracha she'ein bo shem u'malchus, ein a bracha. A bracha must have shem and malchus. Says the Avodram, the Chashivas of every bracha is really the malchus. When we say Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Boirei Pri Adama, the focus, says Avodram, is that a person should come to a hakara that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Melech Haolam. He's the king and he runs the entire universe. Big things, little things, every little corner of the world, he's in control. How do I come to that hakara? How do I appreciate that he's Melech Haolam? That's today because of he's a Boirei Pri Adama, and tomorrow because he's a Boirei Mina Mazonos. But the purpose, says Avodram, of every bracha is to come to the hakara that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Melech Haolam. Says Tosfos in brachas Daf Mem Beis B'Shem the Ri, without even bringing a raya, says the Ri on its Gepasken Tazei in Shulchan Aruch. If you said Baruch Atah Hashem, you're not Yarchei, you didn't say Shem Malchus. Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Boirei Pri Adama. So you said Malchus, but you didn't say Melech Haolam, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the king of the entire world, everything that there is in the universe. You haven't been Yarchei the bracha. Because the purpose of a bracha is not just to be makir that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Boirei Pri Ha'etz, and not just to be makir that he's a king, but that he's the melech of the entire world. Wherever there's a nivra, every aspect and every corner of the entire world is subject to HaKadosh Baruch Hu's malchus. That's the purpose of every bracha. And on that, Chazal said you should say Meir brachas b'yom, to drive home the understanding and the appreciation that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the Melech Haolam, which is the common denominator and the purpose of every bracha that we make. We're now, unfortunately, having been through and lived through together these terrible, turbulent, trying times in which we saw a manifestation of the Melech Haolam, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed his control to every single corner of the world, big and small, any color, any country, wherever there's a nivra in this world, HaKadosh Baruch Hu demonstrated his Malchusa Yisbarach, Melech Haolam. Avada, we don't ask for Nisyonos, and Avada, we daven HaKadosh Baruch Hu should take this away from us. But our appreciation when we say a bracha now, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Melech Haolam, is far greater than it was for many of us a few weeks and months ago. Says the Gemara, Hanene melo olam beloi bracha ki'ilu mo'al. He was mo'al and hektish. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the food. It belongs to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And he gave it to us if we make a bracha. If you didn't make a bracha, ki'ilu mo'al. Says Reb Isaac Sher in Leket Sichos Musa, a Meir Dikazach. We all make brachas. We're all wonderful people. We make brachas. Says Reb Isaac, if you made a bracha, and while you made the bracha, you were mizboinen, and you thought, and you internalized that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Elokeinu, and he's a melech, and he's a melech of the whole olam, and he's the Boirei Pri Adama. You did it all right. And then you ate that carrot without thinking, b'shas the achila, that this carrot is there to show me that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the Melech Haolam of every corner of the world. Says Rav Isaac Sher, that's included in a nene mi olam hazeh b'loi bracha. B'shah, when he's a nene, wasn't aware of the point that the bracha is trying to drive home. So he did two things. He made a bracha and he ate. But he wasn't a nana barach. He wasn't b'shas ma'isa when he made his achila aware and cognizant of the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the melech of the olam of every corner of the world. That's a ki'ilu mo'al. That's how great the memra of Chazal is. Chart Rebbe Zechron Levracha takes it a step further. Hanenim in olam hazeh beloy bracha. If you are not in that food, in that piece of schnitzel, in that Danish, was greater than the hana that you had in the bracha and in the appreciation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu being melech ha'olam, that's a nene. Hanene me olam hazeh. If a person has hana in eating and enjoying olam hazeh, below bracha, more than the hana that he has in the bracha and the appreciation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's malchus, that's ki'ilu ma'al. Because the tachlis of everything HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us to eat and enjoy was to come to our korah. That's the tachlis of my eating. That I should come to the hana of realizing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the melech ha'olam. That's what it's all about. It's not for nothing that the Medrash Tanchuma tells us hachayim va'amoves b'yad haloshen means that it depends on the loshen, on the words of the bracha that we make b'shah when we're going to eat. Because a person who makes a bracha with the real understanding that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the melech ha'olam, that brings chayim to the world and it drives away misa, hachayim va'amoves b'yad haloshen. And if it's not enough for us that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us chayim when we're maked that he's the melech ha'olam, says Reb Tzadok, steht im Posuk, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu says this b'shas matan Torah, uberach es lachmecha ve'es meimecha v'asiroi simach lo mikerbecha. Make a bracha on what you eat and you drink. Uberach es lachmecha ve'es meimecha v'asiroi simach lo mikerbecha. HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes away machalas from Klal Yisrael. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu bench us, all of us. Yiddishkeit internationally. V'asiroi simach lo mikerbecha. In the zchus of each and every one of the participants, who's made nefesh to learn and make brachas the way they should be. And in the zchus, I must add, of my great friends who I admire so greatly, who sit, each one in his own house, and direct and channel their energies towards Harbotzas Torah in Klal Yisrael, to being mechazik each and every one of us through good times and less good times. My wonderful, admirable friends in the Torah project of Agudas Yisrael. And I want to add, before we learn halacha, one more thing, and then we go to halacha. 1907 was Tafresh Tamach Zayin, was the year of the Japanese-Russian War. Nikolai considered himself the invincible emperor of Russia, and he looked at Japan as some little Umoshfela, and he got into a war with them, and he was quite sure he was going to win. And it didn't take him too long to realize that Japan is extremely powerful. What did he do to try and fight? Took as many soldiers as he could and sent them east to fight against Japan. And many, many thousands of unsere Yiddish Bochrim were schlepped out of their homes and out the Beis Medrash and sent to the front. And first they went through the terrible being schlepped away, and then they went through being pressed into the emperor's army, and then they went onto the front where they had in terrible conditions, and then on top of that, the Japanese were stronger. It was a terrible phase in the history of Klal Yisrael. 1907, the Sfasemus was the last year of his life. Many say he became sick when he heard from the Bochrim who wrote letters of the terrible conditions and the thousands of people being killed on the front. Many say that that's what made him sick, and he didn't recover, and he died then in 1907. when he was still alive, he got a letter from a bocher from the town of Ostrov, who's been schlepped away from home and sent to Manchuria, and he's fighting in the trenches. And he writes to Ger Rebbe, and he managed to somehow get this letter sent from the front, and it arrives in Ger. And the Gabba opens the letter, and we're sure what's going to be written in the letter. Rebbe, daven for me. Rebbe, send me some food. Rebbe, daven that I should survive. And the Gabba opens the letter. And what's there? What does the Bocher write? Not a word about how difficult it is. Not a word about how worried he is for his life. But we're learning here on the front, amidst all the bullets flying here, we're learning, and we have a Gemara, which we remember, and we have a cash on the Gemara. We don't have a Gemara. Rebbe, can you please write back to us a letter to explain to us Pshat in the Gemara, which we can't make out when we're up there at the front? The Gabba reads the letter to Heiliges Sasemus, and Sasemus says, a bocher who's going through so much, and the only thing that he's worried about is Pshat in a Gemara. He deserves I should write the letter back to him myself. And Sasemus sits down, takes out the quill and the pen to write back to the bocher Pshat in the Gemara. But it doesn't finish there. Sasemus writes to him a wort, eins in der Welt, a moiridike wort. Sasemus writes to him as follows. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Klal Yisrael, Haidoisi bochem hayoim es hashomayim v'sa'aretz. Simple translation, Haidoisi is a loshon of edus. I make testify against Klal Yisrael, the shomayim and the oretz. Poshta pshat in the Pasuk. Says the Sasemus in his letter. The loshon adi in Torah language means an ornament, a beautification. By our Sinai, we were given crowns, which the Torah calls edi. When we serve the Egel, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, "V'lo shosu ish edyoi, hoireid edyecha me'alecha." Take off that ornament, that beautiful, glistening jewel which sits on your head. Edyecha are jewels. Says the Sasemus, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created a shomayim and a oretz, and he's a melech ha'olam, a whole entire universe. But where are the jewels in the universe? What lights up this world? The Heilige Yidden, a bocher who's out there in China fighting in the trenches, and he's worried about Pshat in the Gemara. He's changed the Shomayim and the Oretz, and he's beautified them. He's a jewel in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's world. Haidoisi bochem hayoim, says Sasemus. I sprang up around my world, jewels, to light up the Shomayim and the Oretz. This was the spilus of the Sasemus from his Bochrim in 1907. The crowns which we took off at the time of the Egel, we are able to don again. Haidoisi bochem, we become HaKadosh Baruch Hu's jewels. Boys, I have no words, not for the participants who spent weeks and weeks learning a Shvera Perek, and all the more so for those incredible individuals who are jewels, who light up HaKadosh Baruch Hu's world. Haidoisi bochem, you are the jewels who light up the Shomayim and Oretz. HaKadosh Baruch Hu should bench each one of those jewels to continue lightening up HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Shomayim and HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Oretz for many, many good years in good health. Wherever Rabbi say. Tonight, I was asked to speak for you today on the sugya of Ikka v'Tafel, the bracha that we make on an Ikka and the bracha that we don't make on a Tafel. Steht in Mishnah Brura. Twice he says the same thing. We have a din in Shulchan Aruch. When you have an Ikka and a Tafel, you make the bracha on the Ikka and no bracha on the Tafel. And this applies to bracha Rishona and to bracha Achron. the tafel doesn't get a bracha rishona and it doesn't get a bracha achrona. Says the Mishnah Berurah. Let's be makdim, back up what it says in Shulchan Aruch. Bracha achrona on food is clear cut. Less than a kazayas, no bracha achrona. It gets a bracha rishona, no bracha achrona. A kazayas, exactly a kazayas, you make a bracha achrona. Burn the foshes, an alamichya, a birchas hamazon, and a kazayas. What about mashkin? Liquids, drinks. Tosfos brings two opinions. Some say you take a small amount of drink, like a kazayas, same as a food. You drink the volume of a kazayas, there's already a boyer nefashos, already ala gefen. V'yeshoimrim, no. Drinks are different than food. Only if you drank a whole revius, which is 3 times the volume of a kazayas, then you make a bracha achrona. Two opinions. So, if I drink less than a kazayas, which is a little bit at the bottom of the cup, for sure no bracha achrona. You drink a whole revius, for sure you make a bracha achrona, either burn a foshes or an alagef. Anywhere between a kazayas and a revius, you got yourself into a suffix of a bracha achrona. Says the Shulchan Aruch, if the only thing you're doing is drinking, don't drink anything between a kazayas and a revius, because you got yourself into a suffix of a bracha achrona. If you are eating other food and you arranged for yourself anyway a burn of foshes, fine. So you're making anyway a burn of foshes. So by all means, drink 1 kazayas, 2 kazasim of your drink. But if it's only the drink, then it should be either between a kazayas. Don't avoid the area between a kazayas and a revius. Says the Mishnah Berurah, a fellow drank half of a revius of wine, half of a revius of water. Can he say alagefon on the wine? No. Can he say burn a foshes on the water? No, because each of them is less than a revius. Says the Mishnah Berurah, maybe we should tell this fellow, you did drink a whole revius altogether of liquid. So go ahead and make a burn of foshes. Says the Mishnah Berurah, no, we can't let you make a burn of foshes. Why? Because the possibility exists that the chiyuv of bracha achrona is already by a kazayas. So because you drank more than a kazayas of wine, you already need to say alagefen. And if you would say alagefen, then the wine is the ikar and the water is a tafel. And you wouldn't need to say a burn of foshes on the water. Says the Mishnah Berurah, although in actual fact, this person, we don't let him make an alagefen on his wine, why don't we let him make an alagefen? Because there are opinions which say that you need a whole revius, but because there might be a chiyuv to say an alagefen, therefore we can't allow you to make a burn of foshes on the water, which is a tafel. Add Kaldivrei Mishnah Berurah twice. Fracture Moshe, Nigris Moshe, the Mishnah Berurah is a pella. The Mishnah Berurah seems to understand the workings of ikar and tafel. How do they work? That the tafel, by virtue of the fact that he's a tafel, doesn't need a bracha at all. A tafel doesn't need a bracha. So, because it might be that I should be making alagefen on my wine, in which case the water will be a tafel, in which case it wouldn't need a bracha, because being a tafel you don't need a bracha, so we can't let you make a bracha. Fracture Moshe, I have a mefurish Gemara, a mefurish Tosfos, a mefurish Sifin Shulchan Aruch, that the din of a tafel is that it needs a bracha, but it's included in the bracha of the ikar. What's my raya? It says in Tosfos and Daf Mem Daled, and it's gepaskened in Shulchan Aruch, that if you have an ikar, you made a bracha on the ikar with no intention of eating the tafel. Subsequently, you decided to eat the tafel. Says Tosfos, the tafel needs a new bracha for itself. Fractal Moshe, if the din of a tofel is that a tofel, by virtue of being a tofel, doesn't need a bracha, so he's eating the tofel now as a tofel. So he doesn't need a bracha. In Tosfos and in Shulchan Aruch says, you do need a bracha. What does that tell you? That the whole idea of ikka v'tofel is, when you made a bracha on the ikka, that patters the tofel. So if you only decide to eat the tofel after you already made the bracha on the ikka, then the tofel gets its own bracha. Fractal Moshe, if the whole idea of ikka and tofel is that when you made the bracha on the ikka, it patters the tofel, so this yid in the Mishnah Berurah, halacha l'maisa, he's not making a bracha on the ikka. We don't let him make a bracha on his wine because there's a shitta that you need all of his. So if you're not making a bracha on the wine, let me go and make a burn of choshes on my water. That's Rav Moshe's kasha on the Mishnah Berurah. The Mishnah Berurah, Rav Moshe and the Imit bracha is a pella to try to attempt B'rishus Kallah Kodesh Hazeh. We're going to try and attempt to answer the Mishnah Berurah. To understand, for emphasis Mishnah Berurah, we need a few points, a few akdomas. The Gemara in Brachas, in Daf Lamed Hey Amud Beis, Amud Aleph says, a Gemara that we all know. Why do you need to make a bracha on Olam Hazeh? Kol hanene me'olam hazeh b'loi bracha ki'ilu mo'al. Everything belongs to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And if you take from HaKadosh Baruch Hu's world without a bracha, you're a ganav. There's a lav in the Torah, you're not allowed to ganav. So I'm not allowed to ganav from you and from him, and I'm not allowed to ganav from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. As long as I didn't make a bracha, it belongs to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So I'm going to ganav. Ganav from HaKadosh Baruch Hu might be worse, it's called Meir. You're a ganav. That's why you need to make a bracha. Steht in the Gemara that the chiyuv of Birchas Hanenim is a new chiyuv, a gezele dikadin. Birchas HaMitzvahs is not because of your ganav. If you washed on Tizadam without making a bracha, shekitron mitzvahs and so on Tizadam, it's a takana. Angela Zagdela made a takana, you need to make a bracha. Birchas HaMitzvahs. Birchas Re'iyah. Person is extremely impressed by whatever it might be. He has to make a bracha. He sees a kachbrocha oika mokam avodah zarah. He makes a bracha. It's a takana. Make a bracha. Birchas Hanenim is different because if you nanim ba'elam hazeh b'lebracha kilu ma. So much so, Rav Shem Kluger says, if you eat matzah on Seder nights, so you eat in the midst of erev teichel matzahs, and you forgot to make the bracha of amitzi lechem in haaretz. Says Rav Shem Kluger, you're not makayim the mitzvah. Why? Much the same as if I ganav matzah from somebody else. I'm not makayim the mitzvah of achilas matzah, either because of the din of matzaschem, or because of mitzvah of aveira. Says Rav Shem Kluger, if you didn't make a moitzi on your matzah, then it belongs to the Rebbeinu Shem. So you're a ganav. So you haven't been makayim the mitzvah of achilas matzah. Didn't make Birchas Hanenim. More. The Bir Halacha goes a step further and he says, fellows in a place, she'ein enoki, you can't make a bracha because there's tzoya there, there's a ruach ra, you can't make a bracha. So if you wash it for moitzi, you can't make a bracha until Zidayim. Okay. So what do we tell him to do? Wash without making a bracha. You can't make a bracha, you're noinus. Says the Bir Halacha in Siman Samach Beis, an oinus is a good teretz when it comes to Birchas HaMitzvahs, Birchas HaShvach. Birchas Hanenim is a ganav. If I don't have food, if it's not the Koch Nefesh, I can't ganav food from somebody else. I can't ganav. You go hungry. Says the Bir Halacha, if I happen to be lunchtime in a place which is a mokim she'ein enoki and I can't make a bracha, then I'm allowed to eat. Because if you don't eat, because if you don't make a bracha, you're a ganav. And there's no heta for a ganav for mokim oinus. For mokim where you can't make a bracha. That's the Gemara. Frekt, the emek bracha. A kasha from Gemara later in Daf Nun Aleph. The Gemara discusses a person who ate without making a bracha. He should have made eight on his apple. He didn't make the eight, and he ate the apple. It's finished, gone. The Gemara discusses, should he now make a bracha or not? Do we say there's a din of oivel asiyosam, you're going to make the bracha before, and if you didn't, you've lost the bracha, or you haven't lost the bracha, you can still make the bracha. Frek de make bracha. If the reason why you need to make a bracha is because until such time that you made the bracha, it belongs to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So this fellow ate his apple without making a bracha. So he's a gammon. He stole the apple from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. However many times he's going to say Boyer Puri now, he remains a gammon. He still stole the apple because at the time when he ate the apple, it wasn't his. So it's true, we paskin, you don't make the bracha after you ate the apple. But what's the discussion? What's the point making a bracha after you ate the apple? That's the kasha of the emek bracha. Says the emek bracha, a yesoid. Says Reb Leib Malin, a yesoid. And this is a yesoid which answers many kashas. Birchas Hanenin has two departments. There's one department called Birchas Hanenin because of the din of general, regular Birchas HaMitzvos. Anshe Knesset Gdola made a takana of various brachos. You need to make the bracha Birchas HaMitzvos, Birchas Re'iyah, Birchas HaShvach, Birchas Hanenin, Bracha Rishona, Bracha Achrona, the entire spectrum of brachos. On top of that, there's another machayev of brachos, and that machayev is kol hanenem ha'olam hazeh b'lo bracha ki'ilu ma. What's the nafka? Why do you need the additional din of nana ki'ilu ma? So, okay, there'll be one nafka for if you ate matzah, and there'll be another nafka if it was in a mokim shein enoki. But in the Gemara, why did the Gemara need the din of mokim of kol hanenem ha'olam hazeh b'lo bracha? Simple. Birchas Hanenin has a shia. When am I called a Birchas Hanenin? You ate a kazayis. How do I know? Because you only make a bar nefashos if you ate a kazayis. You only say alamichya if you ate a kazayis. Says the Reb Leib Malin, the regular takana of Chazal of Birchas Hanenin, that needs a kazayis for bracha achrona and bracha rishona. So if I ate a little candy which is less than a kazayis, why do I need to shkoyach? Why do I need to make a shahakel? The answer is because even the smallest amount that you're going to eat, you have a different issue. You're nene b'le bracha, even the smallest amount. So you need a bracha because of ki'ilu ma. Therefore, Birchas Hanenin is split into two parshas. There's a parsha of Nene b'le bracha ki'ilu ma, and there's a parsha of regular Birchas Hanenin. Comes the Ramah, and he says a mashunadike chiddush, which takes us all by surprise the first time we hear it. There's the din of ikva tofel, which we've learned and we'll be ma'ayin in, and we all know. What's the din if I eat a tofel, but I eat the tofel before the ikka? Before I made the bracha on the ikka. But it remains a tofel. Was it included in the bracha of the ikka? No, I haven't made a bracha yet on the ikka. Says the Ramah, you have to make a bracha on the tofel. However, says the Ramah, unbelievable Ramah. If my apple is a tofel to the cake which I'm eating afterwards, so I haven't yet eaten the cake, I haven't made a bracha, I've got to make a bracha on the apple. Says the Ramah, but it remains a tofel. So now make a shahakel on the apple. You need a bracha, but you make a shahakel. What sort of sense does it make that you need a bracha but you make a shahakel? Zot Rabbi Malin, niflamoid. There's two mechayvim of bracha rishona, and when it comes to ikka and tofel, they split up. There's one mechayev of regular birchas hanenim. There's another mechayev called hanenim me'olam hazeh b'loi brocha ki'ilu ma. In the din of takonov anshe knesses hagdoila, that they obligate a person to make a bracha, they only obligate brachas on an ikka. A tafel isn't included in the dinim of anshe knesses hagdoila. No chiyuv bracha at all. So why do you still need a bracha on a tafel? Because there's another consideration of a nene me'olam hazeh b'loi bracha ki'ilu ma. Says Reb Leib Malin, the din of nene me'olam hazeh b'loi bracha ki'ilu ma doesn't necessitate individual, personalized bracha. You don't need to make a eitz on an apple and a mazonos on a cake for the din of nene me'olam hazeh b'loi bracha. Who split up our brachas? Every mitzvah gets its own bracha, every birchas hashvach its own bracha, and every birchas hanenim gets a personalized, itemized bracha for that individual food. For an apple, and for cake and mazonos. But, says Reb Leib Malin, the din of nene me'olam hazeh b'loi bracha ki'ilu ma only obligates me to make the smallest of all brachas. The lowest level of bracha. What is that? A shahaka. If I eat the apple as a tafel before I eat the cake, which is the ikka, what happens now? As far as the takon of anshe knesses hagdoila goes, the apple doesn't need a bracha at all because it's a tafel. Why does it need a bracha? Only because kol hanenem me'olam hazeh b'loi bracha ki'ilu ma. That only obligates me to make a shahaka. Says the Ramah, if you eat the tafel before the ikka, you never need more than a shahaka. Ein mol hazeh, once we've understood this, we're now in a position to analyze, go back to our Mishnah Brura. What did the Mishnah Brura say? The Mishnah Brura is talking about the fellow who drank water and wine. He's talking about bracha achroina. On a bracha achroina, there's no din kol hanenim me'olam hazeh b'loi bracha ki'ilu ma. How do I know? Because bracha rishon is even on a mashu, on a candy. Bracha achroina has a shear of a kazayis. Bracha achroina is only because of anshe knesses hagdoila. As far as anshe knesses hagdoila are concerned, a tafel doesn't need a bracha at all. Says the Mishnah Brura, because there's a possibility that the wine needs an alagefen when you drank a kazayis, and if that's the case, then the water is a tafel, then the water doesn't need a bracha at all. So we can't let you make a burn of foshes on your water. You ask me a kasha, Rav Moshe asks a kasha from a mufurish din that a tafel which you didn't have intention to eat at the time that you made your bracha rishoina needs a bracha. Yeah, Avada. Because as far as the din of nene me'olam hazeh b'loi bracha mal, there you need a bracha rishoina even on the tafel. You're right that you need a bracha. But the Mishnah Brura is only talking by bracha achroina. By bracha achroina, the Mishnah Brura says that you don't make a bracha at all. There's no mechayev by a tafel. Now let's go a step further. The Marsha, the Rebbe Kveiga, come with a Meir Chiddush. The Gemara tells us, Sofa brachas lahakol. I don't know whether I should make a bracha of al natilas yadayim. Don't make a bracha. I don't. So what should I do? Wash for moitzi without a bracha. I don't know whether I should make a bracha al achilas matzah. So eat the matzah and don't make a bracha. Sofa brachas lahakol. So what would we say? I have a food. I don't know whether I have a chiyuv to make a bracha. Am I able to make a bracha on this food? So for brachas lahakol, go ahead and eat without a bracha. So the Marsha, no, can't let you do that. Why? Because kol hanenem me'olam hazeh b'loi bracha ki'ilu ma. So it's not a suffix whether you need to make a bracha, it's a suffix whether you're allowed to eat. Suffix gezela is asa. So you can't eat the food, even though suffix brachas dahakal. Suffix brachas dahakal tells you can't make the bracha. What's the ramification of that? That you can't eat it all, because you're called a suffix ganav. If we don't let you make a bracha, you're a suffix ganav. This is their shitta. And there's many anachronim who discuss whether we paskin like this chiddush of Rabbi Kveiger, the Gilin Hashas, the Marsha. It's not our business now to paskin the shine. I want to focus only on one of the rayas which the achronim bring. They bring a raya from a Ramah. The Ramah says there's a machlokas rishonim in the dinim of mat-emes. Mat-emes means that you're tasting the food, you're tasting the chomet. If you taste and spit it out, you don't make a bracha. If you taste and swallow, do you need a bracha or not? Machlokes rishonim. Says the Ramah, Safa brachas dahakal, and we don't let you make a bracha when you taste that chomet. Okay. Says the Ramah in Simon Reish Yud Mefurash, therefore you can go ahead and taste that cholent and swallow it without a bracha. Say the Achronim, how can you have a marsha and a rikveiga and a discussion whether Safat brachas dahakal tells me, therefore you can eat without a bracha, or you're not allowed to eat without a bracha? It says Mefurash in the Ramah, Safat brachas dahakal, go ahead and taste without a bracha. It's it. Mefurish adin. There's nothing to talk about. Meir Rabbi say, "B'schus Kallah Kodesh hazeh, I want to be miyashuv, the Marsha, the Rikveiga." The kasha doesn't start at all. Why? Dr. Bitzel, there's a Rambam says that a mat-emes who tastes doesn't need a bracha, even if he swallows, on condition that he swallows less than a kazayis. But if in order to taste your food, you need to taste and swallow a kazayis, says the Rambam, then I'm moida that you're going to make a bracha. How come? What sense does that make? If there's a patur called tasting, how do you lose that patur when you had to taste the kazayis? Says Rabitzel Moiradik. We know there's two mechayvim b'chzanene. One mechayev kolanene brocha kidumal, and another mechayev called Anshe Knesset HaGedolah. Zok Rabitzel, mat-emes, tasting, is only a p'tur in kolanenim olam hazeh b'loi brocha. He doesn't come under the classification of a nenim olam hazeh b'loi brocha kidumal. He's not a ganav. He didn't come to be a nene. He came only to taste the food. He'll make the bracha when he eats it. However, says Rabitzel, when he tastes a kazayis, he moves up. He's promoted. He's now come under the general umbrella takon of Anshe Knesset HaGedolah that every ma'aseh achila needs a bracha. Tasting is no different than any other ma'aseh achila. If you taste and you swallow, you need a bracha. Says the Rambam that I'm moida by a kazayis that you need to make a bracha even if you're tasting. Now, Meir Rabbi said, let's go back to our Ramah. The Ramah brings a machlokas rishonim. If you taste and you swallow less than a kazayis, the Rambam says no bracha. Why? Because Anshe Knesset HaGedolah doesn't apply because it's less than a kazayis. Nenem olam hazeh b'loi bracha doesn't apply because you're mat-emes. And other Rishonim hold no, that if you swallow, you always need a bracha. Granted. Says the Ramah, because I have a machlokes Rishonim, therefore safa brachas dahakal. What is the machlokes Rishonim? The Rambam says you don't need a bracha. What do the other Rishonim hold when they say that you do need a bracha? We have a klal, says the Marsha, that safa brachas dahakal don't eat because you're nenem olam hazeh b'loi bracha. The Rishonim will say that as soon as you swallow, you need to make a bracha even if you're tasting. But etzem the moida to the Rambam that the takana, the din of kolanen and bracha kilu mal doesn't apply to tasting, because you're not coming to be a nana. You'll be a nana tomorrow when you eat it. The machlokes is that the Rishonim hold that even less than a kazayis, if you swallow it, always comes under the takana of Anshek Netzach Gdoila of Birchas Hanenin. And these Rishonim hold that the Anshek Netzach Gdoila were machalek between Bracha Rishona and Bracha Achrona. Bracha Achrona is only by a kazayis, and Bracha Rishona is even less than a kazayis. So if you swallowed, you're going to make a bracha. But why do you need to make a bracha? Because it's the takana of Anshek Netzach Gdoila. Zok the Ramah, if I have a machlokes rishonim where the tasting and swallowing less than a kazayis needs a bracha rishona, and the ganze machlokes is only in the takana of Anshek Netzach Gdoila, so the din of Sofet brachas article tells me you don't make a bracha. Go ahead, taste the cholent, swallow less than a kazayis, and you have no problems. When did the Marshaw and the Bikvegas say that pachas mikazayis, that sofa brachas la'akil, we don't let you eat? That's talking when you're not tasting. That's talking when you don't know what bracha to make. So you're included in the nana mo'elam hazeh bracha kilu ma. If you're kilu ma, then you have a sofa gzela. We can't let you make the bracha, and we can't let you eat without the bracha. When did the Ramah say that we let you have dano without the bracha? Only in the case of matemis. Meir Rabboisai, and take the opportunity to wish everyone gesund, nachas, brachas, atzlachas, health, happiness, and prosperity. Ad Meir ve'esrim shom.